Okay, so you know the Eiffel Tower, right? I mean, everyone's seen pictures of it, but there's so much more to it than just being, kind of a pretty thing to look at in Paris.
Yeah, it really is an icon, isn't it? And we're going to sort of go, beyond the postcard view of it today and really dive into its history and its impact on the world, really.
Yeah, so just imagine, Paris back in the late 1800s. France is getting ready for this big, huge international event, the 1889 Universal Exposition.
Right. Yeah, a huge celebration. It was the centennial of the French Revolution. And they really wanted to showcase, what France was capable of, like their industrial progress, artistic creativity, the whole thing. And part of that was they held this contest to create a monument, a centerpiece for the exposition, something really spectacular.
And of the ideas they got, it was Gustave Eiffel's engineering firm that won, right?
That's right, yeah. And what's interesting is the idea for this, like, 300-meter tall iron tower didn't even come from Eiffel himself at first. It was actually two of his engineers, Maurice Koechlin and Émile Nouguier, who came up with the initial concept.
Really? Huh, I didn't know that. So what, Eiffel wasn't even that into it in the beginning?
Yeah, it seems he wasn't completely sold on it right away, but Eiffel was a brilliant engineer, a shrewd businessman, and he quickly saw the potential in this audacious project. So he got on board. Not only that, he really became the driving force behind it, championing it. He went so far as to actually acquire the patents for the design.
Oh, wow. So he was all in.
Yeah, absolutely. And we can't forget the contribution of architect Stephen Silvestri either. It was Silvestri who came in and added those, decorative touches, the flourishes that softened that, kind of harsh industrial look of all that exposed iron, and gave the tower that elegant, distinctive silhouette that we all recognize today.
It's true. It's more than just functional. It's beautiful, too.
Yeah, a great combination.
So, but, out of all the designs submitted, why did they choose this one? I mean, it wasn't just because it looked cool, was it?
No, not at all. Eiffel had this stellar reputation already as an engineer who could really deliver. He built bridges and other large structures all over the world.
Yeah, his company was known for working with iron, right, on a massive scale.
Exactly. And the tower's design itself was super innovative, especially in the way it dealt with wind resistance. Because, think about it. A structure that tall, wind could be a huge problem. But Eiffel's design was, incredibly strong and stable.
That's amazing when you think about how tall it is.
Right. And then, Eiffel, he was smart. He didn't just sell it as like a big sculpture. He emphasized how it could be used for science, like meteorology and astronomy, even for national defense, observation. And later on, it became really important for radio communication. And of course, it helped that his team had a solid plan for building it on time and within budget, which always makes a difference.
Yeah, I bet.
So it was a combination of, the right man for the job, an innovative design, and a vision for its practical uses. It wasn't just about looks, it was about what it could do.
Absolutely. And speaking of the right man for the job, I mean, let's talk about Gustave Eiffel himself for a second. I mean, this guy was more than just an engineer. He was like a visionary.
It really was.
Born in Dijon in 1832, originally with the last name Bonnekhausen, which, by the way, his father later changed to Eiffel because it was easier for people to pronounce, more French sounding. He started out studying chemistry, but quickly switched gears to metal construction, especially bridge building, which, as we've seen, really shaped his approach to the tower.
Yeah, that's fascinating, right? Like his background in bridges, you can see how that influenced his thinking when it came to designing this enormous tower.
Yeah, totally.
And his company, Compagnie des Établissements Eiffel, they became known worldwide for their work with iron. They were really pushing the boundaries of what was possible with that material.
And I mean, the tower wasn't his only big accomplishment, was it? I mean, this guy was involved in some pretty incredible projects.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, did you know that his company designed and built the internal metal framework for the Statue of Liberty?
Oh, wow. No way, really?
Yeah. I mean, it's not something people usually think about, but it's crucial to the statue's structure. And then, there's the Garbet Viaduct here in France, the Maria Pia Bridge in Portugal, these beautiful, elegant bridges. He even designed the rotating dome for the nice observatory and was involved in a bunch of railway station projects. I mean, the list goes on and on. He was a real pioneer in the use of metal in architecture.
Wow, that's amazing. And I guess, given all the controversy surrounding the tower and the scale of it, it really speaks to Eiffel's determination that he saw this thing through. He was really passionate about it, defending it against all the criticism, And he played a big role in making sure it got funded. He really believed in it. He saw it as a symbol of progress and innovation.
So, okay, we've got the vision, we've got the man behind it, but let's get down to, the nuts and bolts of the tower itself. Like, how tall are we talking here?
Well, originally it stood at 300 meters, which was already pretty impressive for the time. But over the years, they've added antennas and stuff on top, so now it reaches a total height of 330 meters.
Wow, that's like 3 football fields stacked on top of each other.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
And it all sits on this square base that's 125 meters on each side.
So a pretty substantial footprint. And what about the different levels? I know there's more than one, right?
Yeah, there are 3 main public levels, each with like a different view of Paris. And from the beginning, there have been restaurants on the first and second floors. So it's always been a place to, hang out and enjoy the view as well as see the sights. The highest platform, the one with the, really panoramic views, is at 276 meters.
Wow. And when it was completed, it was like the tallest structure in the world, right?
That's right. It held that title for a while.
Pretty amazing. And so all this was built with puddled iron, is that right?
Yeah, about 7,300 tons of it.
And why puddled iron? Why not steel, which is what they use for, skyscrapers and stuff today?
Well, back in the 1880s, steel production was still pretty new and expensive, and people didn't really understand its properties as well as they did puddled iron, which is a type of wrought iron.
Oh, okay.
So Eiffel and his team, they knew how to work with puddled iron. They had a lot of experience with it from their bridge building projects, so it made sense to use it for the tower.
Makes sense. So how did they actually put this thing together? I mean, it's hard to imagine building something so massive with, the technology they had back then.
Yeah, it was an incredible feat of engineering. They used over 18,000 individual pieces of prefabricated iron, all precisely made so they fit together perfectly.
Wow, 18,000 pieces.
Yeah, and they were all held together by something like 2.5 million rivets. It's mind-blowing, really.
Mm-hmm.
They used these mobile steam cranes, they called them creepers, to lift the pieces into place. And they built this huge wooden scaffolding around the tower as they were constructing it. And to make sure everything was lined up perfectly, they used like sandboxes and hydraulic jacks.
Yeah.
Really ingenious stuff.
Yeah, that's some serious engineering.
Oh, yeah. And the whole thing was done in just over 2 years, from 1887 to 1889.
That's incredible. Oh, and with how many workers?
They had a relatively small workforce, actually, somewhere between 150 and 300 people at any given time.
Yeah.
And sadly, there was one fatality during construction.
Yeah, that's awful.
But considering the scale of the project and the risks involved back then, it's a testament to their safety measures that there weren't more.
Yeah, that's true. So just to give people an idea of the sheer size of this thing, how much does it weigh?
The total weight is around 10,100 tons.
10,100 tons. That's like, I don't even know how many elephants.
Yeah, it's a lot. And we've talked about the 3 main public levels, but there's actually a 4th level that's mostly used for like technical stuff and isn't usually open to the public.
Oh, interesting. And I mean, it's still incredibly popular, right? I mean, people from all over the world come to see it.
Absolutely. It's one of the most visited tourist attractions in the world. Before the pandemic, they were getting between 6 and 7 million visitors every year.
Wow.
And even after the pandemic, the numbers are back up. In 2023, they had over 6.3 million visitors.
Amazing.
And in 2022, it was around 5.85 million. So, it's still a huge draw. People just love the Eiffel Tower.
They really do. And building it wasn't cheap, I imagine.
Well, the original cost was about 7.8 million French gold francs.
And in today's money, that's like...
around 36.7 million US dollars.
Wow. And I guess Eiffel himself put up a lot of the money, right?
Yeah, the government only provided limited funding, so Eiffel actually invested a significant amount of his own money in the project.
That shows real commitment. I mean, he really believed in this thing.
He did. Now, getting up to the top, that's a whole story in itself. The elevators, they're a fascinating part of the tower's history. When it first opened, they had 5 different elevator systems.
5? Wow.
The American company Otis developed these hydraulic cable elevators that went up the curved legs on the north and south sides. They took people to the second floor. And then French companies like Rue Combeluzier-le-Pape and Edu, they also installed lifts.
And they actually had to design special elevators because of the curved shape of the legs, right?
Exactly, yeah. And the Edu elevators that went all the way to the top, they were actually 2 separate elevators, so you had to switch halfway up. It was quite an engineering challenge back then.
So are the elevators still the same as they were back in the 1800s?
Oh, no, they've been modernized over the years. Mm-hmm. They switched from hydraulic to electric systems, which were more reliable, especially in the winter. And in the 1980s, they did a major upgrade. They installed faster and more efficient elevators. Otis even developed this dual lift system that allows you to go straight to the top without having to transfer.
Oh, cool.
And for people who aren't afraid of heights, they added glass-floored elevators on the second floor in 2008 so you can, see straight down as you're going up.
Oh, wow. That's a bit much for me, but I can see the appeal.
It's pretty cool. And currently, there are 8 elevators in operation. Sometimes you hear people say there are 9, but that's usually including a service lift.
Makes sense. And of course, you can't talk about the Eiffel Tower without talking about the restaurants. I mean, dining with the view, it's pretty hard to beat.
Right. And they've had restaurants there from the very beginning, actually. During the 1889 exposition, there were 4 restaurants on the first floor. Over the years, they changed names and merged, and now the main restaurant on the first floor is called Madame Brasserie.
And then there's the Jules Verne, right?
Yeah, on the second floor. It's a Michelin-starred restaurant, super fancy. And for something more casual, there's a champagne bar at the very top. And you can find buffets and fast food places on some of the other levels.
So there's something for everyone.
Pretty much, yeah. And the lights, the illuminations, they're a huge part of what makes the Eiffel Tower so magical, especially at night.
Right, they really make it come alive. So how did that all start?
Well, back in 1889, they used gas lamps to illuminate the tower, and they used them to display the French flag. And then in 1900, they switched to electricity with over 5,000 light bulbs. Can you imagine how spectacular that must have looked back then?
This has been incredible.
And over the years, they've gotten more and more creative with the lighting. Like in the 1920s and 30s, they used the tower as a giant advertisement for a Citroën with 250,000 colored lights spelling out the company's name.
That's wild.
Yeah. And then in 1978, they turned it into a huge Christmas tree with all these lights. It was really popular. But I think, the thing that really changed the game was in the year 2000 when they added those 20,000 twinkling lights.
Oh, yeah, the twinkling lights. They're so iconic now.
They really are. They're originally just supposed to be temporary for the Millennium celebrations, but people love them so much that they decided to keep them.
And now every hour, it sparkles, right?
Yeah, from sunset to 1 a.m. and even later in the summer, every hour, on the hour, the tower sparkles for 5 minutes. And then at the end of the night, there's a special 10-minute display. It's really something to see.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And they use the lights for special occasions too, right?
Oh, yeah, all the time. They'll light it up in different colors for different events or to show solidarity with different causes. Like they've done red for Chinese New Year, blue for Europe Day, pink for breast cancer awareness, and they even lit it up in the colors of the Ukrainian flag.
That's really powerful.
It is. It's a way of, using the tower to communicate a message to the whole world. And, it's interesting. The nighttime illumination is actually protected by copyright as an artistic work.
Wow, really?
Yeah, and they're always working on making the lighting more energy efficient.
That's good to hear. And I mean, the Eiffel Tower has inspired so many artists, musicians, filmmakers, writers. It's really become this, cultural touchstone.
Absolutely.
Like in painting, you have famous depictions by Georges Seurat, Robert Delaunay, Paul Signac, Maurice Utrillo, Henri Rivière, who did a whole series of 36 views of the tower, Marc Chagall, Salvador Dali, even contemporary artists like Leonid Afremov. I mean, it's been a constant source of inspiration for painters.
Yeah, and in music, too. Like you have Charles Trinet's song, Y'a de la joie, Mystin Kessler, La Tour Eiffel est toujours là, Jacques Hélian's Paris Tour Eiffel. And I mean, countless other songs have mentioned the Eiffel Tower or used it in their imagery.
Yeah, it's really become synonymous with Paris, with France, with romance, with, kind of a certain joie de vivre.
Totally.
Yeah.
And in movies, I mean, you see it in so many films like Funny Face, A View to a Kill, Ratatouille, Midnight in Paris, even the recent biopic Eiffel. It's like an instant symbol of Paris. You see the Eiffel Tower, you're in the City of Lights.
Exactly. And in literature, too, Guillaume Apollinaire wrote a poem that's shaped like the Eiffel Tower. Raymond Queneau wrote a whole book about it. And you see it on book covers all the time.
It's everywhere.
It's really become this universal symbol. But, it's easy to forget that when it was first built, it was actually super controversial.
Yeah, not everyone was happy about it. In fact, there was a huge backlash from the art world.
Really?
Oh, yeah. A group of artists and intellectuals published a formal protest petition in the newspaper Le Temps in 1887.
And who were some of the people involved in this protest?
I mean, some big names. Guy de Maupassant, the writer, Alexandre Dumas Fields, Charles Garnier, the architect who designed the Palais Garnier Opera House. They were really worried that the tower would ruin the beauty of Paris.
What were some of the things they said about it?
They called it a gigantic black factory chimney and useless and monstrous tower. They thought it was ugly. They thought it was dangerous. They thought it would collapse. And, you have to understand, for a lot of artists at the time, the Eiffel Tower represented this intrusion of industry into the world of art and beauty. They saw it as a symbol of, like, dehumanization, a rejection of traditional aesthetics.
So it wasn't just about taste. It was about, like, a clash of values.
Exactly.
But Eiffel, I mean, he fought back, right?
He did. He defended the tower passionately. He even compared it to the pyramids in terms of its structural elegance and timeless beauty. He argued that it was a symbol of progress, of scientific achievement, of French ingenuity, and he emphasized its practical uses, for science, for communication, for defense.
And in the end, despite all the criticism, the tower was a huge hit.
It was. Millions of people flocked to see it during the exposition.
And there's that funny story about Guy de Maupassant.
Yeah, the one where he supposedly ate at the restaurant in the tower all the time. Because it was the only place in Paris where he couldn't see the tower.
That's hilarious.
But ultimately, what saved the tower was its usefulness. It played a key role in the development of radio communication. And that made it too valuable to tear down. So in 1909, they decided to keep it permanently.
And now it's, arguably the most famous landmark in the world. It's become this symbol of Paris, of France, of, like, human achievement and ingenuity.
It's amazing, right? How something that was so controversial could become so beloved.
Yeah, it really is. So the next time you see a picture of the Eiffel Tower, or if you're lucky enough to see it in person, take a moment to think about its history, about all the people who fought for it and against it, about the vision and the engineering that went into creating it. It's truly an incredible structure, a testament to human imagination and our ability to create something both beautiful and functional.
I totally agree.
So that's our deep dive into the Eiffel Tower. We hope you enjoyed it.
Thanks for listening.
Until next time, au revoir.